Welcome back to Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Tonight's floor plan, we're going to get a chance to talk to one of the point guards of the Miami Heat, Gabe Vincent. And we appreciate the opportunity here. I've got Sean Rochester here along with me. And Gabe, I just want to start here, and I want to get into some of your backstory for people who may not be as familiar. And then we're going to talk a little bit of basketball here with the Heat. But I just want to have one simple question for guys who go through your journey. 2018, undrafted, you go to camp, Exhibit 10, all that sort of stuff. And now 3 years later, you're in a position with, a full contract with the Heat and a potential rotation role here. Did you ever think during this process of just giving up?
I think it's natural. You have ups and downs, whether it was an injury or being cut from situation or being in the G League. Some days are better than others. I wouldn't necessarily say giving up, but there's some days where I think, naturally you do get down on yourself. You do doubt. So I think a lot of it is just perseverance and fighting through those negative thoughts and trying to just continue to push forward and remembering why you started doing what you were doing in the first place.
What was the lowest point?
That's tough. I mean, my first year in the G League, I battled with a couple injuries. I think before the game, we had a scrimmage and I tore a ligament in my thumb, had to have surgery off the bat. And then, I didn't really play my first game until the showcase. And then it was like hurt my hamstring. And it was like a constant struggle to find rhythm, find a role, build an identity within the NBA, within this league. People are quick to label you. And so to go into that summer of 2019, and then coming to my second year in the G League and find success, that was just an amazing feat of perseverance, I think.
Yeah, Gabe, this is Sean Rochester. Thanks for coming on with us. I had a question kind of about that process. You've had a lot of great vets in Miami, and not just at your position, as a whole roster, at different positions, but in specific at point guard, you've had Kyle now and you had Goran last year. What did you pick up from those guys? And I think probably both a little bit different, but what did you pick up from those guys at the position?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I picked up is pace. I think each of them play at a different pace, but the way that they'll go fast to slow or slow to fast or set their table per se to perform and put guys in situations or put themselves in a situation to find success. I think they do it differently, and every guard isn't differently, but that's one thing I think that has stood out the most to me.
What was your first encounter with Kyle? Firstly, did you know him at all before he signed with the Heat?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did. I think I met him after he'd signed in Vegas or something kind of random, just kind of bumped into him. But we had some encounters in training camp, and I'm sure we'll continue to build our relationship as time goes on throughout the season. But so far, everything's been great, and he's been great so far, and I'm just continuing to try to learn.
You mentioned pace, and Kyle does pace a little bit differently. I think people think of pace as a guy speeding up and down the floor. And but we go back to a time, I'm old, I've covered this team since 1996. Okay. And talking, with Riley about this yesterday, when he had his press conference,
Right.
There is a similarity of Kyle Lowry to Tim Hardaway when he came to Miami after I know I'm dating myself here a little bit because I know how young you are. This is about the time.
You just said 96. I mean,
well, I'm saying that's the year you were born, right? Like that, yeah. Right? Aren't you 25?
Yeah, you already dated yourself for sure.
I date myself a whole bunch of different ways. But yeah, so the year that you were born, Tim Hardaway was acquired by the Heat. And at that point, he wasn't run TMC Tim anymore with Mitch Richmond and Chris Mullin. He had some knee surgeries. He was more of a half-court type point guard with a knuckleball jumper, but he knew how to run an offense. But also, he did control pace with things like hit-ahead passes, making sure he got the ball to Zoe on the break, that kind of stuff. And it does seem like there's a similarity to the way that Kyle does it in that sense, where it's not maybe him going the distance, but it's him hitting ahead to other guys. Have you picked up on any of that stuff in terms of transition?
Absolutely. I mean, I tell guys all the time that I'm playing with, like, I'd much rather pitch the ball ahead than dribble it down the whole length of the floor. Like, that part has never been my game. I think my pitch aheads are much different than his, whether it's he might see something I don't see in general and find a guy over the top, kind of a rainbow kind of pass, lands right in the breadbasket. It's a layup. Or you might see a play develop earlier than I would. As far as some of my pitch aheads are way more simple, just flatten the defense out. But I think he does it too in ways with pace that even when he does push the ball himself, he just kind of keeps the defense on their heels. Like his next play speed is so quick that he keeps them guessing. And it might be him just flattening out the defense and waiting for them to make a mistake, and he takes advantage. So there's many different ways he does it, but he's definitely, as everyone has seen in the preseason, the way he gets the ball up ahead with the pass is impressive.
Going back a little bit to your bio, again, you were a scorer, Santa Barbara, scorer in the G League. Do you consider yourself now to be a pure point? Like, is that because it's like in football where they say if a guy grows up playing quarterback, it's different than maybe if he doesn't in terms of the way he sees things. Have you felt like you've made that transition to being more and more? I know that it's changed in terms of the classification of it in the game because pure point guards are not the same as they used to be. But do you look at yourself that way at this point?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when I first started playing the game, I was the smallest kid there was, and naturally, when you're the smallest kid, they make you guard. So when I first started playing basketball, I was more of a point guard, and then I would end up playing up, and I couldn't necessarily be the scorer. I would be playing with kids my age, so I ended up being more of a facilitator. So for me, it's kind of interesting to see how my career has went from that point as a child to growing into a more of a scorer, aggressive, attacking threat, to now being more of a facilitator again. It's different for sure. There's more nuances to it. The game has changed since '96 in many different ways. There's been a lot of learning, and every day it's something new to learn, but it's just different challenges, and embracing them. And, I think I've had my moments where I've been asked to score here more, whether it was guys out with COVID or whatever the circumstance may be, or I might have just got hot. But for the most part, we have a very talented group, and right now my role is to facilitate more and to get guys involved and to make sure everyone gets it where they need it. So
I'm gonna let Sean jump in. I'm gonna get my AARP card now.
I like you reminding him that the game has changed.
It does. My daughter doesn't do it enough. She asked me if I met Abraham Lincoln, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I'll let Sean jump in here now.
I was in middle school when Tim Hardaway came, so I'm like kind of split the difference between you guys. So
I was only 22. Okay, it's not like I was 50. All right.
You really dated yourself there.
Yeah, I know I did. Sean, go.
So, kind of expanding on what Ethan asked, you spend some time off the ball also. We've talked a lot about you playing point guard, but how does your mentality shift when you're, the Heat have a lot of guys who can initiate offense. We have our center that can initiate offense. So how does your mentality shift when you're not the guy that's facilitating and you're the guy on the other end of maybe those passes?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's first of all, I think there's more than one way to facilitate. I think I can facilitate being off the ball too, whether it's a screen or a timely cut that just draws two defenders. But being aggressive off the ball is something I think that also, just like I said, comes more natural to me in some ways than others. Like you said, the last couple of years I've been shooting the ball in the G League or in college. So I can be aggressive. I showed some of that this summer as well, playing off the ball. So, but like I said, we got guys that are talented here, and some guys that do that better than I do, plain and simple. So why not put them in a better situation to do so?
One of our guys, Brady Hawk, who's a hell of a lot younger than me, spoke to you recently for a piece about your shot, I believe, and some of the changes that you've made here over the past couple of years and the adjustment to that. Can you go through that for people who don't understand it? Because I know you were known as a shooter when you came up, and then obviously the percentage hasn't been maybe where it was previously, but you've been adjusting to something different. What has that been?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I got here, I think a lot of it was how can we make a shot more repeatable and not to make it more consistent, more accurate. And I think anytime you change something, there is a process of that change to come all the way through. And for me, a lot of it was just keeping the ball closer to my body, getting the ball out faster, which would in turn make my shot quicker, make it more consistent, more repeatable. I think there's been times when it's looked that way and times where it hasn't. And there's been ups and downs, and I've been dealing with that. And, it might have been just me overthinking it at times, but I definitely would say it feels more natural now, and it feels like I'm at a pretty good place.
All right. When we come back, we're going to do a little bit of rapid fire here. And this is going to be real rapid fire. Sometimes we go on forever. We're going to do real rapid fire here with Gabe so I can get my nap, which I do every single afternoon. Right back here on 5 on the Floor. All right, back here with Gabe Vincent and Sean Rochester on 5 on the Floor. Just want to throw out some things to you about teammates, opponents, other things like that. So we'll go with it. Funniest guy on the team is?
Right now might be PJ Tucker.
Really? Over Bam? Bam usually wins this.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Bam, but PJ happened just to say some funny stuff just before I walked in here. So he just, it was fresh on my mind. It was rapid. Bam, still got love for you. PJ got me at the funniest kind of team as of this moment.
As of this moment, I'll let Sean jump in here and come up with one here in a second. But all the guys have one moment like this. Duncan Robinson told me that he kind of knew he got Jimmy's respect when the first time that they ever did an open run, Jimmy went under his screen and Duncan made a 3 in his face. And Duncan said to him, "Don't ever do that again." And he felt like he earned his respect. When did you feel like you earned Jimmy's respect?
I really don't know. I mean, I never like walked into the arena was like, I need to earn that guy's respect. I personally feel like it's earned daily. So I mean, early on, we'd play ones before the game. That's kind of one of his things he does. And, so battling and competing in those ones, you ever played someone one-on-one or got in a fight one-on-one, you learn a lot about a person doing that. So I think in some ways that helped us build our relationship and just getting to continue to know one another and compete against one another.
All right, growing up, what was a player that you watched or maybe modeled your game after?
That's tough because it was never just one person. I think I loved Allen Iverson. Obviously, that was just he was a mogul at that point. I love watching. This might be bad for me to say in this building right now, but Paul Pierce at the time, I liked his game a lot.
We're gonna edit that out.
I'm gonna save it because I was a big Heat fan, as I think many of the world was 05, 06, and big D Wade fan. So my game I always felt was it was always a hybrid. I don't think it ever really matched one person per se. So I tried to pick pieces here and there. When I was younger, I'd watch the Ray Allen when he was back on the Bucks in 95, 96. And watched him as he became more of strictly a knockdown shooter. And so I think I've watched a lot of film over the years and watched a lot of guys, but I don't know if there's anyone in my game has been purely modeled after this one guy, so.
Ray was by the facility the other day. Did you get a chance to talk to him?
He was, yeah, I did get a chance to meet him. It was awesome, great for him to come by and see practice and whatnot.
All right. Here's what I'm gonna throw at you. Would you ever wear anything that Tyler Hero wears?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, some of the stuff that Tyler wears for like the magazine shoots and all the rest of this stuff.
He's aging himself again, basically.
Yeah, I think I would. I think he's a pretty fashionable guy. Some of the stuff is not necessarily my style, but I think a lot of it is good stuff.
All right, that's a very PC answer. Sean, go ahead.
I'm gonna give you one X and O one. The 2-2-1 last year. You in the front of it. What do you think? Do you see that again? Do you like playing that? I enjoy watching you play it because I know it's havoc for that ball handler. But what do you think about that?
I mean, I think I had a lot of fun doing it, especially with Dre. We had a great continuity doing it. We had different ways. I mean, we did it different than everyone else on our team did it, me and him. So we had a lot of fun with it. We kind of tried to make it our own in different ways. And computer popping up.
Oh, that's all right. No problem.
Yeah. We had a lot of different. We made it our own. So I think we had fun with it. I'm not sure exactly how much we'll go to it this year, if we will go to it. But if we do, I'm more than happy to be a part of it. I enjoyed it. I find happiness in defending and getting stops. So
I asked Max this, and he didn't really have much of an answer for it when he was on with us. But when you got the word that you were going to be, that this wasn't a two-way situation this year, that you had a full contract with the Heat, how did you celebrate?
Wow. I mean, I don't think I really did celebrate like that. I think I just went back and worked out, or got work on my body. I think my summer was kind of long this year, between, the season, getting ready for the national team run, and then coming right back. And although I didn't play in summer league, I was still there with the team and a part of everything. So there wasn't necessarily like a let's go to dinner and go crazy and get a bottle of wine or whatever. But I think it was just like a great, like awesome. This is wonderful. This is what we've been working for, but there's a lot more work to do. Kind of.
Well, it has to be incredibly gratifying. I mean, I know obviously, like you said, the journey doesn't stop, and you're gonna have to prove yourself every night because that's what guys have to do in the league. But considering, I mean, we sort of take it for granted with the Heat because there have been so many guys compared to other organizations who have gone from undrafted to core contributors. I mean, shoot, UD's never going to leave. Okay. And that was 2000, right? Right. And that was 2003. Okay. And this is going back, but I mean, it's a long list. It's Joel Anthony, it's Ike Austin, it's Mike James, it's Anthony Carter, it's Duncan Robinson. It's you and Max now. There's a long list. Why do you think this organization has been so successful? Because it feels to me like it's the Heat and then maybe it's Toronto, but other organizations don't do this. They don't give the opportunities to guys who maybe get undrafted and they don't develop them.
Yeah, I think that last bit, you kind of hit it on the head right there at the development piece. I think they put a lot of time, energy, and effort into developing guys. And to take that a step further, I think they put a lot of time, effort, and energy into their scouting department, finding guys that match the Heat identity, match what they're looking for as an organization. I've been asked about the culture or the other forms of it, and I think a lot of it naturally just matches what I believe in, what I do, and how I move day to day. So while some people may think the tasks asked of us are crazy and too demanding or too militant, in some ways, that's just how I prefer to move naturally anyway. So there's some things I think people may struggle with with what we do, but I think the type of guys that they get and find success, it's just part of who they are.
All right, one last one from me. You have a day off, no game, one place to eat in Miami. Where are you going?
Wow, that's tough. I just recently, not too long ago, went to Fiola. I had a great time over there. So that's fresh on my mind. Yeah, I'd have to go with Fiola right now. That'd be my go-to spot at the moment.
All right, and I got two here to finish. One, favorite conversation you've had with Pat. What have those conversations been like, I guess?
Favorite conversation I had with Pat. So one of the games last year, I had my hair out, not braided, and I was wearing a tie-dye. And he was telling me I was giving him some flashbacks to like the 70s. But that I had on, the hair out, and he was just loved it.
Have you seen what he looked like in the 70s? Because people think of him in the 80s in Showtime, right? The slick back hair and all that with Magic and Kareem and everything else. But before that, there was a little hippie in there, like in the 70s.
Tell me you got a picture to throw up on here.
I'll get one for Twitter. I'm going to throw them up. But if you see it, the long hair, him guarding Jerry West in practice, it's a little bit of hippie. I mean, I don't think Pat would want to be called a hippie. I don't think he'd be down with that. But
hey,
yeah, it was.
The record, you said it. I didn't.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble because I've seen Pat cut guys at practice for less, but that was before all the contracts were guaranteed, and you're in pretty good shape right now. You guys are up against the tax anyway, so you're fine. But I'm just saying, there was a little bit of hippie in there. But more seriously, we appreciate the time. We'll be looking forward to seeing you progress this season and getting this opportunity. If I was to say to you in 1 year, we do a podcast in 1 year, and we say this is what you accomplished this season, what do you want it to be?
An NBA championship.
That's what they do here. So there you go. The main thing is the main thing, right? As the hippie Pat Riley used to say and still says. Gabe, we appreciate the time. We'll get a photo to you. We'll tag you on this and all this good stuff. But thanks for doing this.
Ethan, Sean, appreciate you guys.
All right, have a good season.